Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Jake, here with another video. And today, we're joined here with blamon, one of the UG developers responsible for Gelioichythys. And we're here to do a deep dive video on everything there is to know about Gelio, and, how it is. Anyways, Blame, who are you and what can you tell us about yourself?
I'm SirBlameson. I am a UG developer because I'm awesome. I model, rig, and animate and do a lot of concept art. I'm a typical all-around person, and I'm responsible for doing a lot of concept design. I am solely responsible for making the entirety of Gelioichythys, and I've been working for UG since 2022, I believe. And I have improved vastly since, and that's where I'm going to talk about this design in a moment.
When it comes to Gelioichythys, um, what was the process like for people who weren't there around? Like what was it like? Because I was there and I watched it happen, but how would you describe it as?
Oh, so actually, and I'll post these images for you to grab because I didn't grab them beforehand. We were talking about redesigning Skilla, and because it sucks, and we'll get into that in a moment. But Skilla B was taken from a dev store, and it was just made a playable. And the actual main inspiration behind changing it in the first place came from the fact we were doing the Odyssey event, and we were planning for a Skilla skin for Skilla B. The issue is that we just wanted to change it because A, the name, and B, the entire concept of it and the developer behind it was just a whole. But when I originally designed it, I originally planned around it around the current Skilla B design, Skilla Beta, and it had a lot of similar features surrounding it. Before that, though, I made a joke drawing about like, oh, it was supposed to be a stupid, like, deformed female megavore. It's surrounding a Skilla Beta, and it had a lot of very similar features. But then I was doing this on a dev stream. People were like, well, what if you made it more aquatic based? And I'm like, yeah, what if I did make it more aquatic based? Or like, what if I just started over? So I started over with a little bit of a better idea. Um, a lot of it taking an inspiration from Megavore, which is included in its genomes, which we'll get to that. So I took Megavore, I took deep sea fish, and I just threw it together. And then it was a bunch of feedback from the community. They're like, oh, what if you did this? Oh, what if you did this? What if you added this? What if you changed this? And it was going back and forth between the community and developers on a dev stream. And I think we finalized the design within like I don't know if it was 3 days or 3 different dev streams. And we ended up with the final design.
For anyone who's watching this video who wants to know if ever things happen like that again, join the Unhashed Games Discord, and that's where things like this will happen, where you will be able to participate in this kind of stuff. When it comes to your inspiration, what specific animals did you pick, and like why exactly did you pick them for Gelioichythys? Like what specific parts of them made Gelioichythys into what it is today, and like why specifically those?
Yeah, so I'm a man of science, so I like when hybrids show their parent figures or like their parent features. So a lot of the things I used are you can visibly see in the design. So first of all, I talked about Megavore. So I used Megavore as a base because there was this old lore or like whatever that Supernob made surrounding Skilla Beta saying that it was a deformed female Megavore, and I laughed at it. And I'm like, okay, now what if I actually built off of Megavore? So looking at the design, you can see a few Megavore features. It's got the helmet that Megavore kind of has in its V3 version. If you look closely on its face, it's got these little like deformed tricorns where they're like hardly visible at all on top of the head. It's got a quad stance. It has basic dinosaur feet. Its first toe is actually bigger. Remnants of Velociraptor. It's got a slight hint of the mosasaur tail in the very like most tip of the tail. And then when it comes to actually like throwing on that design, so the basic, if you take its body and you zoom out and you were to get rid of its legs, you can kind of see it has a very mosasaur-like body shape. From its neck all the way down to its tail, it follows mosasaur shape, and there's a little feature on its hip, which is a dorsal fin, which is something we think mosasaurs have, because there's a few things like whales and dolphins. They also have a dorsal fin, more so in dolphins, less so a little feature you could see showing that it's part of Mosasaurus. It's got an eel like fin on its tail, stretching from that mosasaur spike all the way down to the end of its tail. That's remnant of a bunch of different eels. I just chose a moray eel because it's who doesn't like a moray eel? Its upper body is very interesting. You can see it's got a bunch of spikes on both sides of its body. These are supposed to be remnants of the stegosaur and ankylosaur plating from Megavore. And then it's got true spikes on the very top of it, which flail out in certain roars and actions. Those are part of the stonefish, which is a type of very venomous fish, and they can pop up their frills or pop up their spines in sort of defense, and so can lionfish. That's what that is a part of. It's got whiskers, and that isn't supposed to be remnants of anything. That was kind of just a feature we added because of its habitat and whatnot. Catfish have whiskers as a sensory organ, so we were just like, yeah, throw the sensory organ. Going back to its face, it has a very, very weird jaw. It's got a bunch of sharp teeth on the inside, and then closer to its molars are Dunkleosteus teeth, directly from a Dunkleosteus genome. And you can, if you pull up a picture of Dunkleosteus, it follows that shape. But it's got Dunkleosteus teeth, it's got super sharp incisors on the front, and then its jaw kind of pops out less like a goblin shark, more like a moray eel. It's got a 3-part system where it pulls forward and out, and on top of that, the jaw is split. So there's a lot of different jaw motions this thing can do. Snakes were a main feature in this because snakes, their jaws aren't connected through the middle, and that allows them to swallow bigger prey. So I'm like, okay, let's take the moray eel, which can swallow bigger prey, and let's take the snake that can swallow bigger prey and just make a thing that could just swallow huge prey, alongside a crushing bite and something that's going to leave a mark. It's got gills because it includes a ton of fish, and it's a mainly aquatic hybrid. Its arms look like wings, and that's essentially what they are. They're pterosaur wings. They have little tiny hands, and then they have the big old wing part, which is just a big finger. So that's exactly what we did, or what I did. You take the long finger of a pterosaur, you make it less wing-like, and you make it more segment-like a flipper, and it's segmented in like 3 main parts. It's got the big finger, it's got the forearm, and then it's got the little hand part. But the actual wing part, the finger, kept the fingernail, and that ends up becoming the scythe at the very end. And then it's got these little tiny ridge nails on the end of it, which are also supposed to be just fingernail growth, but it acts like a praying mantis arm. When a praying mantis arm folds, it can capture and hook things onto there, and they actually interlock. And the main finger is able to fold down like a switchblade as well. So the finger's still got motion and can move quite a lot. But it doubles as a fin and a sort of fighting weapon and tool. The color, nothing really for the color. I just like to throw on random patterns until something looks good. So the main blue part of it is just something random. This concept itself, also the finalized concept, was made by a person named Abel. He helped clean up the design I did, but not much has changed. But anyway, the blue part is just a little striation pattern, and it's got blue bioluminescence. What? Oh, and one last thing I forgot to mention. The feet look a lot like dinosaur, but it's got this little fin part of it. It's supposed to be like a frogfish, where they kind of have their little fins look like feet, and so when it swims, it's supposed to go back and essentially act like a fin.
So, with all these adaptations in mind that you gave this creature, what kind of habitat would you see Gelio in? Not thinking about Dinosaur Sim, not thinking about the game, but if you were to put this in this, a certain paleo environment, and then put whatever creatures that would suit that environment and let it live in a food chain, what kind of environment would it be at? How would it interact with everything? What would it eat? How would it go on land? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so Okay, disregarding Dinosim, this would probably be an almost entirely fully aquatic creature despite its feet. Given the bioluminescence and the whiskers, it would probably be a deep sea hunter and a very quick one because of its like sleek build. The whiskers would help in sensory under the water, where it's like pitch black. We're talking like deep sea. Um, Whiskers for sensory, and then bioluminescence for. I actually forget the purpose that creatures have bioluminescence. I think, which is really funny because I'm super like knowledgeable in that stuff. So yeah, bioluminescence. Its eyes are shrunken a little bit. They don't really. They probably wouldn't serve much of a purpose at all. It would all just be sensory, and it would be one of those things where as soon as it senses something, it's just snap it goes to it because of just how fast it would be. And it would use both its jaws. It would use its arms to latch onto something, and then its jaws to just absolutely crush it or just swallow it whole. Hunting, it would probably just a bunch of deep sea fish. It would probably hunt a lot of squid. That's what I'd imagine, like those giant squid. You want to take like prehistoric matters, tooth or whatever. Just those giant squid that are living super deep in the ocean. But yeah, there's nothing more to say than that.
How is it different from old Skila, in your opinion?
Oh boy. So it's different significantly by its design. The only remnants of the old Scylla is the scythe arm, which in the old Scylla concept was not much of a scythe. It just kind of scythe shaped. So a lot of what was kept and why I kept the good parts of Scylla, which made it unique. So that would being the scythe arms. You could argue the split jaw, and then you could argue the quote unquote female megavore part. Other than that, this concept should be you could prefer the old one by all means, but the old one has lots of remnants of just it being Megavore, and then this character called, I think it's called Rek'Sai from League of Legends, was a huge inspiration for it. It's got like, the old skill has got like this weird crystal on its face, it's got like these weird jaws, and it had no eyes originally, but the model gave it eyes after it was a hybrid. And it's just a super weird concept. It's not that well thought out, and it's one of those things where like, if you look at it, it's like, okay, this looks cool, but like, what is it? Like, there was so much wasted potential that could have been in the design, and that's where I kind of just like was like, I need to save this thing. This will be my hybrid now. Goodbye, Super Knob.
Branching back to its habitat, when it comes to competition in the oceans, where do you see Gelio like on the food chain? What would it compete with? What would it have trouble standing against?
I probably prehistoric sharks or whales or like other deep sea predators, because that would live in its environment just over like general food competition. If I'm thinking modern day, I'm thinking automatic would definitely be like its main competitor because they also hunt using their senses and they're very efficient at it. But if we're thinking prehistoric, it would probably just, I don't know what hunted the prehistoric depths. I don't know if we know that much about it. But just anything that shares the same food source would just be direct competition in the deep blue because you can't see it, you can't adapt that accordingly and so competition can be very heavy between deep sea species.
All right. Those are seemingly all the questions. Is there any specific topics about Gelio that you would like to talk about to expand upon?
The cool thing I like about it in Dinosim specifically, or at least it was supposed to be. I don't know how it's now because like the whole bleed changes and the range changes and like the cooldown.
Right.
It's supposed to be like the pinnacle of a glass cannon. That's what I originally intended it to be. It was supposed to be one of those animals where it's like, I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna take you down with me, type of
Right.
thing, or just a quick assassin. I don't know. It's quick. It has a huge cooldown, or sorry, it has a little cooldown. It does quite a bit of damage, but it's like super weak. It's got low health, low defense. The opposite of that being Megavore, which is just,
A
or
tank.
theoretically, a tank.
Do you think Gelio is worthy of being in Dinosaur Simulator since you know it's kind of
It's a lot.
it's kind of well okay. So it's covering the same niche as Megavore. Do you think there's enough differentiation between both the semi-aquatic hybrids to, warrant, I guess, its existence?
Are you referring to like Gelio and Megavore specifically, or like Gelio and like Dolly? Or, like,
Gelio and Megavore,
what
because
are you referring?
Dolly's a full aquatic.
Yeah, Dolly's a full aquatic. So, my justification for it still being in the game and for it being useful was, like I said, it being the fast glass cannon and Megavore just being the tank. Both of them just happen to be semi-aquatic. Gelio is supposed to have the upper hand in the water, not against Megavore, but just like in general, because it's supposed to just be speed, 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 speed. Um, I really don't know how it plays out now, just because the balancing is so difficult to do, just because there's so many playables. But if it were coming to the hybrids, that would be the justification for it. And it's a little bit like that now, because a cooldown nerf.
Right.
Or a buff, if you would say, if the cooldown got lower, then it got higher again. So yeah, it was good. It was good again for a moment, and then it was. I guess it's fodderized, if you want to say.
Players got out their pitchforks.
Yeah, they got out their pitchforks and they're like, "Why is this thing good?" It was crazy on release, super low cooldown. It was crazy on release. Then it got killed, and then nobody played it, and then it got bleed got reworked, and then its cooldown got lowered again. So then it got good for a moment, and then it's like okay now, I think.
What do you say to all the people who love the other hybrids over Gelio?
That's what I say.
That is a good thing to say. Do you have anything to say to the haters?
Oh, I would play another sound effect, but I can't. I'm gonna say very mean things to you if you like. Wait, what was the question again?
Hey, what are you saying to the haters?
You just don't like it, or like prefer other hybrids?
Either one.
I'm gonna show up to your house and throw rocks at your window. If you don't like it, I put a lot of thought. This thing is actually like my son in creation. It's probably the peak of creature design, and Phoenix gets really mad at me because he just calls it Spec Evo. Speculative evolution. I'm just like, dude, it's not. And then I get in an argument with him, and it gets really funny. All of you are haters. I hate all of you. I'm gonna show up to your house if you don't like it. Your grandma is gonna receive a very big hospital bill, if that's the case. Other than that, if you like it, you're cool. You can like give me a high five or something.
There it is. If you like Gelio, you get to be friends with Blamon via high five.
I will give you a high five, and then I will type a happy face out, and then I'll probably forget who you are. Actually, no, that's not true. If you openly say that you like this animal, I will actively remember you. It'll be stored in the back of my brain forever. I'm gonna be on my deathbed after I got hit by a car, and I'm gonna be like, man, Spinosaurus fans 57 said he liked Gelio, and I'm just gonna like smile with a single tear down my face.
If you guys want to be in Blamerson's memoir or something from his grave, make sure to comment down below how much you love Gelioichythys. And if you want to talk more about it in the comments, talk about what's interesting about it, some ideas about it, anything. Talk about the other hybrids, how they interact.
And I will comment.
Yeah, and Blameson.
I will comment if I see a reply. I check all the comments of every single video. Anyone who opposes me, I'm like, no, and I type a like 4-paragraph response.
Right.
But I can answer questions.
Yeah. And
Sorry.
Blameson will find you if you talk crap, which means he's probably going to show up to my house. All right. But anyways, guys, that's all for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.